segment, I got just a few questions for you
Yeah.
because I thought, people needed some positivity this time, and I thought, who's more positive than my guy Austin Hatch?
Yeah.
So first off, just tell us kind of what you're doing, where you are at in life, and kind of what, prior to this, kind of what your life was like. Because I think the last time we really talked with you or heard from you was graduation a couple years ago, and then you got married a couple months after that. So it's been about 2 years since we had a chance to catch people up with what you're doing.
Yeah. So it's life is good now. Obviously it's a little different now. It's tough with what's going on with impacting everyone, and thoughts and prayers out to all those who are directly impacted, directly or indirectly impacted. But yeah, we're loving life, and I'm a motivational speaker now for a living, for a full-time vocation, and travel around the country providing value, and by sharing a little bit about my journey about overcoming adversity. Really, my message is about thriving in the midst of adversity, because we all face adversity every day, every single person in the world, and in obviously different forms. But it's about, my message essentially is, it's not about our circumstances; it's about how we respond to them. And yeah, I think that now, I'm not going to stand here and say that's like the end all be all, the great message for everyone. But most people who are going through something, and if I can just encourage them to respond in a way that's helps them get better, because a lot of the time, a lot of people want to grow. We all want to grow, but a lot of us aren't willing to be put in the situations. We aren't willing to always be put in those tough situations where that growth happens, right? So yeah, I just encourage people to be resilient and persevere, and focus on their response to the adversity that they face rather than on the adversity itself.
I remember you interned with Domino's with Brian Doyle and those guys, and you were looking at the business world, and that was kind of what you were focusing on for your studies. When did you decide, and what led to the decision to be a full-time motivational speaker and to kind of spread your message throughout, the country and beyond?
Yeah, so yeah, I was blessed to have an opportunity to intern at Domino's for a couple summers while I was in school at Michigan. Obviously, the headquarters is in Ann Arbor, which is the headquarters is about 5 miles from campus, so pretty close. And then I was blessed to receive a full-time offer, which I accepted. I worked there full-time for about a year and a half. So graduated in April of 2018. My wife Abby and I got married in June of 2018. I started working full-time in July. And yeah, I worked about a year and a half there. So yeah, July of 2018 to about November of 2019. So roughly a year and a half. And yeah, I was very, very grateful for my time there. Great team there, great people. But the demand from I did a lot of speaking while I was there at Domino's. My boss was gracious enough to let me go do that. He understood it was kind of part of my bigger purpose, part of my bigger calling, if you will. So I was blessed to do that and speak while I was at Domino's. I spoke while I was in school at Michigan as well, and then continued while I was at Domino's. And then the demand just kept growing, and I realized that this is what I'm here to do. I'm here to encourage people and use the tragedies and use the misfortune that I've unfortunately had to go through to use that to help others. Because everyone goes through something. Everyone's got a battle of their own, right? And if I can share one or two things that may make people think a little bit differently about the adversity that they face, I feel like that's the reason I'm still around. So yeah, it's been a blessing, and I look forward to continuing to grow in that field and build our brand in the future. So
what's been the response? What's the response like when you give a speech and you get to? I think I saw you out in, was it California relatively recently, that you spoke to some kids. I mean, I've seen you kind of just through social media all throughout the country. What's been the response, and what's it been like being able to devote yourself full time to that and giving your message and letting people know, conveying them kind of that sense of hope throughout the entire country?
Yeah, well, it really is a blessing. It really is a blessing. And I feel so fortunate to be able to share the things that I've learned the hard way, and to have that message heard too. Because like I said, everyone's going through something. Everyone's got a battle of their own that a lot of times people don't know anything about. And so if I can share something it may encourage someone else just to think a little bit different about the obstacle that they face. Oh, okay, I can use this. I can look at this as an opportunity. I can take a positive from this. It's not all negative. The general perception of adversity of any trial is that it's negative, right? But I look at it as, obviously what happened to me is very negative with everything that resulted from it, with obviously the loss of my family and everything. But I believe at the same time, it gave me an incredible opportunity as well. Because someone's going to overcome things. So that there are going to be some people who overcome obstacles, right? And so I just encourage people to think, why not me? Why not us, right? And it's like I said, it's just about being positive in the face of adversity and finding things to be grateful for. Because if we go through a loss or experience any kind of setback or adversity, I think that kind of subconsciously, I think we kind of ask ourselves three questions. First question is, what does this mean? What does this adversity mean? Is this the beginning or the end? Is it the end of things? Is it the end of life, or is it the end of my journey? As I know, like, am I doomed for whatever? Is this going to be a life-changing thing in the negative connotation, or is it okay? Here, things are going to be different after this, but I'm going to find a way to make the most of it. So that's the first question. And the second question is, what are we going to focus on? Are we going to focus on the fact that the adversity happened to us, or we're going to focus on the fact that we didn't deserve it? Or are we going to focus on the fact that, okay, now here's an opportunity that I wouldn't have had otherwise. And this is an opportunity that I can use to inspire others and make a positive impact on other people as well. And then that third question is, what are you going to do about it, right? Because people say things get better with time. That might be true. I think things just change with time. The way you handle adversity changes over time. But if you do nothing in that time, nothing's going to happen, right? So, yeah, it's a blessing, because, the message of, overcoming and persevering, and, that could be applied to, whether it's a tough, sales and business, or, having a tough year at school, a college team's going through adversity. Like I said, everyone goes through something. So if I can just share a few things that may be of value, that's really a blessing.
That kind of plays right into the way the world is right now, because we're obviously, everybody is connected via this obstacle. So what is your message for people right now who are dealing with, not only are people getting ill, and not only is that whole situation, but kind of the stop of normal life has impacted everybody. So kind of what's your take on the COVID-19 coronavirus situation, and how does that, how is it applicable to what you're saying when you're out there talking to people?
Yeah, well, it's obviously, the whole COVID-19 situation is a terrible thing. Thoughts and prayers out to all those impacted, both directly and indirectly. But yeah, it's a invisible enemy, or whatever it's been called, and it is what it is. And obviously, fortunately, we have the best doctors in the world here. That I'm sure we'll get to a solution soon. Get to something that can cure all cases, or whatever. I don't really know a ton about it, but hopefully we get to the bottom of it soon. But my message really is, like I was saying earlier, none of us have direct control over COVID-19 or any adversity that presents itself as a result. But I think if we approach it the right way, if we approach it with the mentality that, okay, this is part of life, this is what it is, but I'm going to find ways to take positives from this. Because if we, Glenn, so if you think about it from this standpoint, since the beginning of time, humans have had an innate ability to find what they're looking for, right? A long time ago, thousands of years ago, it was food and being in safety, right? People found that, right? As the society progressed, that evolved what people look for. But if you look for positives, if you look for things to be grateful for in the face of negatives, in the face of trials, tribulations, adversity, what have you, if you look for those things to be grateful for, I don't think there's any way we won't find them. And yeah, like for me, not to separate these two situations, but I look at all that I've been through and the things that I've lost tragically. But we can't let the one, obviously the situation that's going on right now is a big one. And what happened to me was a big one too, a couple of big ones. But I can't let those events outshine all the other amazing things in my life. A couple really bad days, right? I've had 2 bad days in my life. A lot of tough days, but 2 really bad days in my life. And, I can't let those 2 events you know, outshine all the great moments that I've had and all the great moments that I continue to have. So yeah, I just think it's we just gotta shift our focus sometimes, because it's easy to pay attention to those big things. You know, out of the, you know, the 100 things that are going great in our life, we got this one bad thing. It's very easy to focus on that for anyone, right? But I think you just gotta just shift our focus and shift our perspective a little bit to, you know, what do we have, what's going right instead of what's going wrong. So that's essentially part of my message as well.
Yeah. Hey, on a lighter note, how are you and Abby doing? I mean, you guys have been married for, I guess, coming up on 2 years now.
Yeah, it's amazing. It's amazing. She's incredible. Like yourself, I outkicked my coverage big time.
I hear that.
Yeah. So she's incredible. She was really incredible, and life's good. Life is good. We're, you know, living in Ann Arbor still. Obviously, right now we're with her family in Grand Haven, West Michigan, to get away from this virus deal. But yeah, life is good. We're blessed and have an awesome puppy, and yeah, it's life's good. I mean, obviously, like I said, you know, there's a lot going wrong right now in the world. Not a lot, but there's one big thing that's going wrong. It's having a big impact, and I just try to just focus on the things that are going right. You know what I mean? Because it's like,
Oh yeah.
there's so much to be grateful for. So
Any? I have to ask. Any little hatchlings in the near future?
Yeah, probably not in this late December or early January, but I'm not gonna. But probably in the. I'll say this: somewhere between 1 and 10 years.
Okay.
We'll say that.
That's
So
fair.
somewhere in there. Somewhere in there.
Enjoy that time, because when my wife, once we got married, the time, not that we don't enjoy having kids, but it changes the dynamic a bit. I think, you know, some of the most fun times of my life are when we got married to before we had kids, because we just had so much, you know, so much freedom, and you got to, you know, learn more about, you know, my wife. I got to learn more about her, and like we got that one-on-one time. That time was invaluable to like set, you know, it was like 4 years for the next 40 years. So
Yeah, for sure.
yeah, so just building that connection when it's just you two. I mean, there's like nothing better than that. So
No, it's amazing. It's amazing. And yeah, you know, want to make sure because I mean, we're still kind of figuring it out, right?
yeah,
Not that you ever really figure life out, but we're trying to make sure that we got it all figured, or got it figured out as much as we can before we bring in some new hatches into the picture as well. So
fair enough. Fair enough. Hey, I've always wanted to ask you this question. I don't have the, I think, vocabulary to phrase it the way that I wanted to. This is kind of off the record, but you obviously have to travel a lot. Um, what's your thought process like when you get on a plane? Like, is it hard for you to get on a plane? Because I always wondered that, because I meant to ask you that when we were up doing the interview at the Chrysler Center, and I didn't feel like I formulated it as a good question. So I just wanted to know kind of what your thought process is like when you get on a plane and you know you have to travel. Like, is that cause anxiety, or like how do you go through that?
no, it doesn't cause any anxiety at all. Because I mean, I was two parts to that, two answers to that question. So you can't live life in fear, right? And sometimes what we got to do is, so like the source of adversity, whatever that source of adversity may be, sometimes you just got to go right back to it, stare it in the face, and, you know, say, okay, this was tough at one point. This was the source of a lot of pain or a lot of struggle or whatever it may be. And sometimes you just got to attack it head on, because it's like, and I think about this, you know, if I live life in fear, you know, it doesn't only impact me. It impacts other people, everyone who's connected to me, whether that's my wife, her family, my extended family. You know, someday our kids, what am I gonna tell our sons and daughters? Yeah, you know, Dad got in a really bad accident. He decided to never fly again, right? And so it's like, and like you gotta think about it from that perspective too, because what message do you want to convey to others, whether that's your family, you know, my spouse, your spouse, and yeah. So I look at it as that way. One, you gotta attack it head on and just say, okay, you know what, this happened. But you guys sometimes just gotta go right back to that source of adversity to really move past it from a mental standpoint. Second part of that question is, I flew everywhere growing up. We flew all over the place, whether that's to the lake, to basketball tournaments, to colleges, to visit for recruiting purposes. We flew everywhere. I was extremely blessed to have that. And, my dad loved to fly, and, obviously it's been the source of some extreme pain, and whether that's physical pain or, more over the emotional pain, though, because the physical pain is what it is. The injuries were what they were, but, it's really the emotional side of things that the aviation was the source of a lot of pain from that regard. But, it is what it is. And then the last answer to that question about flying. So the odds of me still being alive are 1 in 11 quadrillion, 560 trillion. An MIT statistician named Arnold Bennett studies like aircraft travel and actually studies airplane crashes, right? And he's calculated that the odds of surviving one plane crash with at least one fatality involved is 1 in 3.4 million. So that's pretty slim. Mm-hmm. And using my elite Michigan education, figuring that, so the odds of surviving 2 is 1 in 3.4 million times 1 in 3.4 million, which is 1 in 11 quadrillion, 560 trillion. So statistically speaking, I shouldn't be alive, statistically speaking, but obviously I am, so I should be. And I think you can't live in fear. I just choose to. So if you look at it from that standpoint, the odds of me surviving and being the odds of a person being involved in 2 plane crashes is extremely slim.
Yeah. The
odds of me being involved in a third one are even slimmer. And you know what? If I say by chance, Glenn, this is kind of a long answer, sorry. But if by chance I do get in a third plane crash, and I unfortunately pass away, it's my time. All right, it's my time to go. That's kind of how I look at it. So not to make light of a morbid question, but you know what I mean. It's just I just choose to, just enjoy life and every part of it, even the things that were the source of some pain, a lot of pain. But just because things happen in the past doesn't predict them to happen again in the future.
I got one final question for interview purposes, and I know it's super cliche and cheesy, but where do you see yourself 5 years from now?
5 years from now, I see us growing this business a lot, continuing to spread the message of hope, optimism, perseverance, perspective, what have you. We've grown. The business has grown a lot in the last couple of years, and we're able to inspire a lot more people now. My goal is to, inspire as many people as I can, one person at a time, right? Because that may sound like kind of a cliche answer, but I think there's something. I forget. I don't know if this is the right number, but there's some number out there that says the average person will meet 10,000 people in their life, right? Mm-hmm. And so if say there's 100 people at an event that I speak at, 100, 200, 300, what have you. Say there's 100 people, and if I can inspire and maybe share something that really resonates with, say 10 of those people, 10 out of 100, and they go share with 10 of their friends, and then the 10 of their friends who heard it from the person at the message at my speech share with 10 of their friends, and 10 more, and 10. You see what I mean? So it's just like I feel like there's an infinite amount of impact that we can make on the world by how we treat people and the messages that we convey. So my hope is just to continue to grow this business, inspire more people, provide more perspective, give more people hope and reasons to be optimistic. Just going to keep at it, keep growing, keep working, and then things will fall into place. I think if we just do the right things and treat people the right way. So we're very blessed, and we got a lot more work to do, but we're on our way.